All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Township of Georgian Bay for the special council meeting of Thursday, December 18th, 2025. And I'd like to call this meeting to order at 1:01 p.m. And in the spirit of reconciliation, we wish to acknowledge the enduring relationship we have between the Indigenous peoples and the territories they traditionally occupied. We recognize and deeply appreciate the historic connection they have to this place, the land, the water, the sky, and all that live in, on, and above it. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all the generations of Indigenous peoples who have taken care of this place and who continue to care for it. And we want to show our respect. Hundreds of years after the first treaties were signed, they remain relevant today. May they guide our decisions and our actions. We commit to learn, to educate, to honor sacred places, and to take action towards real truth and reconciliation. My wish. Council, any declarations of pecuniary interest or conflict of interest?
I think I have an echo.
Oh, one moment.
Yes, through you, Your Worship, I have a conflict of interest in this matter, and I've filled out the documentation.
All right. In this matter, you're referring to 6A?
6A, that is
okay,
correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other declarations of conflict of interest?
Your Worship, for the record, I'm going to, of course, declare, given that this matter or one of these matters pertains to me, but I will be speaking to the matter. Thank you.
Sorry, you're declaring a conflict, but are taking advantage of the ability to speak to it.
That is correct.
Okay. Clerk Way? All right. Thank you. All right. I presume we have no open forum. All right. So let's go straight to 6A, Code of Conduct Complaint Report. And I'm going to do a little, my plan is to do a little introduction. At which
Mayor, Councillor Cooper has his hand up.
Councillor Cooper.
Mayor, I just want to get some clarity here with respect to this proceeding, the one you're just about to begin. So in a point of order.
Please, what is the point of order, sir?
Well, the Code of Conduct, if you read it at 30.2, it says council is obliged to formally receive the report from the Integrity Commissioner as completion of the process. In other words, her process. But I see the Integrity Commissioners here today, and I'm not clear as to why that would be the case when we've had the report. We've received it. It does not align with her Code of Conduct.
Clerk Way.
There's nothing in the procedural bylaw that states that the Integrity Commissioner cannot be present at today's meeting, nor is there anything in the Code of Conduct stating the Integrity Commissioner cannot be present at today's meeting.
Well, Mayor, point of order then, its attendance is different from rebutting or arguing or whatever. That is, the process is completed. And if we're going to have a rebuttal, then we'll have to have a rebuttal over rebuttal.
Well, Councillor Cooper, we do not tend to revisit the report itself. However, the sanctions section of that report was not completed as council elected to defer that portion of the report. So that portion of the report was not completed.
Well, I'm sorry, but if you read, as long as we receive the report, if you read 30.2, it says, and I'll repeat, receive the report from the Integrity Commissioner as completion of the process.
Well, then I would argue that the report was not fully received or discussed. We're going down into semantics, and I don't want to go any further, but I'm going to overrule that point of order and say we're going to go ahead with the Integrity Commissioner in attendance.
So
Point of order, Your Worship.
Before your point of order, I would suggest that we may end up in court because of this. So I'm just pointing out that there's a high risk. Thank you.
Councillor Graziano.
Thank you. Through your worship, I'm going to echo Councillor Cooper's concerns for the record. Unlike, I don't understand why we would deviate from our own code of conduct in order and procedural what's codified in our procedures in order to allow for the integrity commissioner to speak today. If she's in attendance just simply to watch, that's fine. She is no different than any other person of the general public. This is an open council meeting, and everyone is available to attend or able to attend and is allowed to attend. But with that said, I do not see how or why she should have any comments after my comments with respect to sanctions. As Councillor Cooper alluded to, her role has concluded by us receiving the report in the December 1st council meeting. The clerk circulated a document which confirms that the report was received. And as such, her role as an integrity commissioner has concluded in this matter. If she wishes to address any questions pertaining to sanctions, my recommendation is she do it before I have an opportunity to speak, so council is aware in case there are questions. However, I'm sure that our clerk can also equally advise council accordingly. And so I strongly am concerned that if the integrity commissioner is able to speak after I am speaking, that this may be very prejudicial to my comments and could be, again, as Councillor Cooper alluded to, it could expose the municipality to judicial review and or any other litigation matter thereafter. So,
Well,
thank you.
It was my intention to allow her to speak before your report or your statement, so I will continue to do that. I also find it very interesting, Councillor Graziano, that you don't want us to deviate from our code of conduct, and yet that's exactly what you asked us to do 2 weeks ago.
Point of order, Your Worship.
Yes?
Perhaps you can elaborate as to why I requested that as a part of your comment.
Yeah, you requested that because you were not able to attend the December 1st meeting.
Thank you, Your Worship.
All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead with this 6A. This afternoon, Council shall further consider the Code of Conduct complaint report submitted by Ms. Suzanne Craig, Integrity Commissioner for the Township of Georgian Bay at our December 1st Council meeting. At that December 1st Council meeting, we formally received the complaint investigation number 060625 submitted by Suzanne Craig, Integrity Commissioner. 2, Council formally reprimanded the actions of Councillor Bocek per the findings of that report. 3, Council formally reprimanded Councillor Graziano per the findings of that report. 4, Council directed Councillor Bocek to formally apologize to staff no later than December 8th. And 5, Council waived the rules of procedure to defer the consideration of recommendations and sanctions regarding Councillor Graziano to a future meeting at the call of the chair. Numerous subsequent events have taken place prior to today's meeting. On December 1st, following the meeting, Council received a thank you for deferring email from Councillor Graziano. On December 2nd, Council received an additional email from Councillor Graziano with his legal counsel's response to the original charges back in August. Also on December 2nd, this particular special council meeting was called once it was determined that all councillors would be available to attend. On December 3rd, Councillor Bocek issued a written apology to the complainant, copying 3 staff members and myself, and that apology was accepted later that day by the complainant. Also on December 3rd, Councillor Graziano issued a statement from the office of Councillor Christian Graziano for immediate release. This statement was distributed by the media. And I do have some questions about that, some of its contents which may come up later in our conversation. So today's meeting is for Council to consider the sanctions recommended for Councillor Graziano per the Complaint Investigation Report 060625, which are as follows. 1, formally apologize to staff. 2, remedial training or guidance regarding the council staff relations and respectful workplace policies. And 3, suspension of pay for 15 days. To be clear, the meeting is not to reconsider the report nor the reprimands. The deferral was for the consideration of the recommendations and sanctions regarding Councillor Graziano. Before council begins its deliberations, I will ask Integrity Commissioner if she wishes to make any remarks, and then I will allow Councillor Graziano the opportunity to make a statement if he so wishes. So, Ms. Craig, over to you if there's any remarks you wish to make before I turn it over to Councillor Graziano.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Thank you for having me here today in my role as Integrity Commissioner as it relates to the submission of recommendations regarding respondent number 2 in the report before you. I will not touch on the report as that has been done, and as council has eloquently stated, I have a role which is to submit my report. And with the township and many other municipalities for which I am Integrity Commissioner, I attend meetings not to defend my report, not to make any sort of rebuttals, but rather to explain my process and to take any questions from members of council, so council may conduct its meeting in a way that is informed and make a decision that is fair. And so that is why I'm here. What I would like to do with just a couple of minutes with your indulgence is just make a couple of clarifications with respect to a media statement that was made by respondent 2 on December 3rd.
Point of order, Your Worship.
Councillor Graziano.
Your Worship, she has concluded her investigation and has provided her report. She is not here to provide commentary on any comments made by me, either after her report was delivered. I'm perplexed as to why she would endeavor to want to do so.
Perhaps she can explain herself, Councillor Graziano.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I am only going to be touching on clarification as it relates to my role, as it relates to my appointment, as it relates to my process, as it relates to the Municipal Act.
Point of order, Your Worship. She should not be commentating, and if she wishes to do so, she's welcome to contact the media personnel and the journalists that had taken my statement.
I would like her to go ahead, Councillor Graziano.
Again, Your Worship, I'm raising a point of order. She's concluded her role as the Integrity Commissioner. She has delivered her report as per our code. We have received it. There has been a decision by council to reprimand Councillor Bocek and myself. There is no need to comment on any subsequent comments that have been released by myself. And frankly speaking, this is interference in the process altogether.
Okay, so if it's a point of order, then we have to discuss which section of our procedural bylaw is being broken.
Councillor Cooper has advised of that bylaw specifically.
I believe that
And
was,
if anything, Your Worship, if I may, if anything, then I believe that council should vote on whether or not the Integrity Commissioner should have any comments. But when we look at the judicial system, Your Worship, a judge does not do this. A judge does not render a decision, then at appeal and or any subsequent conversation speak to the matter thereafter. Ms. Craig has provided her comments. She has outlined her position in her report. She has concluded her role as the Integrity Commissioner. And if you wish to open up dialogue to the general public, then I would request that my lawyer also be afforded the same opportunity here today. Because as I see Ms. Craig here today, it is no different than a general public person speaking to this matter. And so if we're going to open it up, then my lawyer would have comments in response to Ms. Craig's comments.
one moment, please.
So according to Schedule G, Section 6B, any ruling of the chair on a point of order may be overruled by majority vote of the members present or for the requirements of any provincial statute to be met. So yes, a vote can be called.
And I would also like to call a vote with my lawyer being able to attend and speak to this matter.
I'm going to call a vote on from the council on whether or not we would like to hear Ms. Craig's comments at this time.
Mayor,
Councillor Cooper.
I think we should have a vote on this, whether we hear anything further. I would like a recorded vote, and I would also like to inform council that if you vote in favor of listening to this, you may yourselves be called up for a code of conduct. Thank you.
I don't appreciate the threat, Councillor Cooper, but I appreciate the warning.
That was the intent. A warning, not a threat.
And I trust that I can vote in on this because there's no pecuniary interest here. But perhaps I can consult with my lawyer in advance. One moment, please. My lawyers confirmed that I am good to go. So I'll be voting on this matter as well. And your worship, one other point of order, if I may, in parallel to this.
You don't want us to do it one at a time?
I think that this may impact your ability to vote.
Sorry, you have a point of order where you want to restrict my ability to vote.
That is correct. My lawyers advised that I should be seeking a point of order with respect to comments made in the general public by yourself that had provided misinformation specifically in regards to what had entailed.
Right.
And as such, my lawyer is suggesting that I bring forward a point of order requesting that you recuse yourself from this discussion altogether here today.
What's the basis of this suggestion?
Comments that were made to the general public in which information was incorrectly advised.
Well, and can you give me any details on that?
Not publicly at this very moment, but my lawyer will be reaching out to you and the Integrity Commissioner shortly.
Very interesting. All right. Step one, moved by Councillor Graziano, second by Councillor Cooper. For Councillor Graziano's point of order, Council permits Suzanne Craig, Integrity Commissioner, to speak during today's meeting.
Let the record show Councillor Cooper requested a recorded vote. Councillor Cooper, how do you vote? You're on mute, sir.
Sorry, just to clarify the way this is worded, just want to understand, if I vote yes, I'm in favor of not allowing? Is that how we're wording this?
No, the motion needs to be written in the positive. So the motion is written to permit Ms. Craig to speak. So if you vote in favor, you are permitting her, you're voting in favor of permitting her to speak.
Just want to make it clear to all of us, and I'm going to be, I don't have a conflict, so I'm going to just say, no, I'm not in favor.
Councillor Graziano, how do you vote?
No.
Counselor Hazelton, how do you vote?
No.
Counselor Jarvis, how do you vote?
I'll vote yes.
Counselor Bocek, how do you vote?
I've declared a conflict.
Oh, sorry, Counselor Pretko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Kutsir, how do you vote?
Yes.
Let the record show the vote is 3-3 and the motion is defeated.
All right, so Ms. Craig, I believe that has silenced you at this point. My apologies to you.
That's quite all right. Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for your time.
All right. Any other points of order? At this point, Councillor Graziano, I'm going to turn it over to you for your statement, please.
Your worship, I had registered a point of order. You had not made a decision on that point of order. So I'm going to ask that you make a decision on that point of order formally before we proceed.
That you want me to absent myself from this due to conflict of interest.
Correct.
I do not plan on setting aside, whatever the right word is, absent myself from this discussion.
Thank you, your worship.
Would you like to go ahead with your statement?
I will, and I'll be referencing a comment, or excuse me, a statement that I've written. So pardon any any issues that may arise. Fellow council members, before I share the facts surrounding the process and its outcome, I want to begin by acknowledging that municipal staff operate under significant pressure and are often on the front lines of community concerns. I also know that respectful, constructive dialogue between council and staff is essential to good governance, and I remain committed to upholding that standard in all future interactions. I understand that the Integrity Commissioner has recommended that I deliver a compelled apology, but I believe that an apology, when required, must be sincere, self-directed, and freely given, not simply performed as a condition of sanction. A compelled apology is by definition not a genuine one. It's a formality. And formalities alone do not repair relationships, nor do they rebuild trust. That said, to the anonymous individual or individuals who may have had their feelings hurt or felt offended by the manner in which I engaged on matters raised in this investigation, I want to say this. I'm sorry that you felt that way. That was never my intent. I personally believe in informed advocacy, and if my tone or approach was perceived to have caused discomfort or harmed feelings, I truly regret that outcome. With that said, I'd like to now provide council with a series of facts and observations that speak to the fairness, transparency, and overall conduct of this process. These facts do not excuse, but they do contextualize why I've taken the position that I have, and why I believe council should exercise caution in endorsing the recommendations before you. Please allow me to begin. And without interruption, if I may. Fact: the complainant or complainants elected to pursue a formal code complaint rather than attempt an informal resolution, which may have proactively addressed or resolved future concerns without such a heavy cost to the taxpayer, inclusive of the Integrity Commissioner's billings and any indemnification afforded to a councillor's defense. Fact: neither my legal counsel nor I were provided with the identity of the complainant, whether a member of staff, a constituent, or possibly a third party. Fact: we received no affidavits, no supporting statements, or concrete evidence substantiating the allegations made against me. Fact: of the 8 allegations brought forward, including a serious accusation of workplace harassment, 7 were dismissed by the Integrity Commissioner. Fact: the complaint lacked identifiable breaches or direct quotations alleged to be in violation of the Code of Conduct. Fact: the allegations were so broad and vague that my legal counsel, experienced in IC investigations, was left uncertain as to how to respond clearly or legally. Observation. The Integrity Commissioner concluded that my conduct amounted to bullying and intimidation of staff, yet provided no objective evidence to support this characterization. My actions involved asking questions to better understand complex matters, an essential part of informed decision-making while in public office. Labeling such engagements as bullying or intimidation without clear standards or specific examples risks discouraging healthy inquiry and blurs the lines between advocacy and misconduct. Fact: at no point during the investigation did the Integrity Commissioner contact me or my legal representative to schedule an interview, seek clarification, or obtain my perspective. In contrast, Respondent 1 was granted the opportunity, with the Integrity Commissioner stating on December 1st that Respondent 1 and her spoke, quote unquote, many times throughout the investigation. Fact: upon submission of our formal written response to the allegations, the Integrity Commissioner allowed the complainant or complainants opportunities to review and submit either a counter-response or counter-responses. Fact: neither I nor my legal counsel were ever provided with a copy of the complainant's counter-response. We were also never given a chance to reply or speak to those counterclaims. Observation. On November 28th, 2025, the Integrity Commissioner released her final report, finding that I have breached Rule 9.1 on two separate matters, specifically that of respect for staff. The report does not reference any specific statements or conduct as the basis for this finding, or these findings, making it unclear which actions were determined to constitute the breach, or the breaches. Fact: the report repeatedly acknowledged that I was advocating or championing issues on behalf of constituents, actions that are integral to a councillor's mandate. Observation. In the AMPS matter, the Integrity Commissioner acknowledges that staff advised that only the fire services fee could be considered for relief by council, which objectively was what my motion brought to council. Yet in the IC's analysis, she concludes that I improperly interfered in a quasi-judicial process and undermined staff's authority, despite the fact that my motion addressed only discretionary fees that council are permitted to review. She further states, quote, "There's a chilling effect on municipal law enforcement staff seeing a member of council try to reverse a fine," end quote. This contradiction forms the basis of a code breach where none appears to exist within council's established authority vis-a-vis the Municipal Act. Observation. In the hearsay matter, the Integrity Commissioner introduces the issue as a potential code violation, but ultimately declines to pursue it, stating, quote, "While I find that the resident was credible and had no motive to lie, due to respect for privacy, I was unable to share details that Respondent 2 required to provide a full response," end quote. Despite making no finding of breach, the inclusion of this unresolved allegation, paired with the subjective credibility assessment, may present as prejudicial as it implies misconduct by myself. Observation. Under her analysis of hearsay, the Integrity Commissioner references an email from a constituent that was circulated by the mayor on May 14th, 2025 at 9:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name was not mentioned anywhere in that email, and it bore no direct relevance to the complaint. Its inclusion in the report appears unnecessary and potentially prejudicial, as it does not substantiate any allegation against me. Fact: the Integrity Commissioner is not a clinical psychologist, nor did she consult one during the investigation to assess my intent or my mental state, mens rea. Statements made by the IC within her findings include, but are not limited to, quote, "But here, the disagreement seemed personal, ... I find that Respondent 2's conduct during the discussion constituted intimidation of staff, even if he spoke calmly," end quote. And, quote, "left those listening with the impression that the supervisor's knowledge was insufficient to properly fulfill her role," end quote. Or lastly, quote, "Respondent 2 had assumed a correlation between the clerk and mayor's actions, suggesting a politically motivated collaboration. End quote. Fact. The IC included within her analysis a section to the state of my mind under, quote, Respondent 2's state of mind, where she states, quote, Respondent 2's response to the complainant does not demonstrate any contrition or willingness to accept his conduct was improper, end quote. Observation. A factual inaccuracy in the Integrity Commissioner's analysis was brought to her attention via email on November 25th, 2025, a few days before her releasing her report. Specifically, she wrote, quote, notably, by the respondent's own account, the mayor felt the need to intervene at the meeting to remind councillors to respect staff. This is alluded to in Respondent 2's reply when he speculates about the clerk whispering to the mayor just before the mayor made the statement, end quote. This reference was taken from my legal response concerning the firearm discharge bylaw, not the AMPS matter. Its inclusion in the AMPS analysis reflects a factual and contextual error that may unduly influence conclusions on that issue. Fact. The final recommendation includes a formal reprimand, a 15-day suspension of honorarium, mandatory remedial training, and a compelled public apology, citing multiple breaches without clear evidence or direct examples, and asserting a lack of insight or remorse, despite not ever contacting me a single time for an interview or having any dialogue with me during the process. Fact. Mitigating factors were cited for Respondent 1, including his prompt acknowledgement, apply, and lengthy record of public service. I unfortunately was not extended the opportunity to offer such mitigation, nor was one sought, nor was my tenure ever considered. Fact. Despite Respondent 1 having multiple discussions with the Integrity Commissioner, I was never contacted for a single conversation. The process applied to Respondent 1 and myself was objectively unequal. Fact. In October, the November Council meeting agenda was posted and the Integrity Commissioner's report scheduled for presentation. Fact. On October 27th, 2025, my family and I booked international travel based on that timing. Fact. On October 31st, 2025, the Integrity Commissioner withdrew the report from the November agenda and rescheduled it for December the 1st without notice nor consultation to my lawyer and or myself. Fact. On October 25th, after receiving the interim report, a confirmation that the final version would be made public on November 28th, I formally requested a brief deferral to allow for my attendance in person. Fact. On November 26th, the clerk denied my request to postpone this matter by 24 to 48 hours. Fact. On December 1st, Council voted to defer discussions of sanctions until I can return and speak in person, despite pressure to proceed in my absence. Observation. I've been advised by my legal counsel that the Integrity Commissioner's final report may be subject to a judicial review, a legal process by which a court examines whether the investigation was conducted fairly and whether the findings were reasonable and within the Commissioner's jurisdiction. In particular, my legal counsel has identified concerns regarding significant factual errors related to the AMPS matter, statements about political interference that may fall outside of the Commissioner's mandate, and broader issues of procedural fairness. While pursuing judicial review would involve a very high legal cost to the taxpayer, I've been also advised that if successful, the Integrity Commissioner's findings could be set aside and my legal costs recoverable by the municipality. Members of Council, as you consider the recommended sanctions before you, I respectfully urge you to reflect not only on the conclusions drawn in the Integrity Commissioner's report, but also on the method by which those conclusions were reached. In accepting these recommendations as presented, Council risks setting a precedent that extends the role of the Integrity Commissioner beyond what is reasonably expected or authorized. The findings against me is not based on any specific words nor actions cited or breaches, but rather on an interpretation of my intent, a subjective standard that leans towards or into the realm of psychological assessments, without the involvement of any qualified clinical nor cognitive professionals. That raises concerns not only for myself, but for the future members of this council and others who may find themselves judged not on what they did, but on how their motives are perceived. Equally concerning is the procedural imbalances in how this investigation was conducted. As I have outlined, I was not interviewed, was not granted access to the complainant's identity nor any evidence, and was denied the opportunity to respond to counterclaims. These are not technical oversights. They are fundamental to any fair process. Ignoring these gaps may unintentionally endorse any investigative or uninvestigative approach that lacks transparency, consistency, and balance. This is not about shielding anyone from accountability. Frankly speaking, I remain committed to learning and growing in this role and accept the way that we communicate matters. I believe council has a responsibility to ensure that accountability is administered fairly, consistently, and in a manner that respects the integrity of the very process we've established to uphold it. So with that said, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and for considering not only the findings, but the fairness of the path taken to reach them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graziano, for your statement. Now, council, any councillors wish to make any remarks or questions, comments before we vote on the three particular items that are in front of us? Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. And I guess I'd like to start with saying that I wanted to say something today because I have endured similar situation several years ago. You may remember that, Mr. Mayor, and some of the councillors, where I was accused of things that were inaccurate and not based on fact. So that's why I wanted to say something today, starting with, it may sound like a minor detail, but I think it shows intent. As I understand it, there was the complainant accused a third councillor of violating the code of conduct by simply seconding a motion. I find that vexatious, piling on, throwing something at the wall to hope that it'll stick. It was dismissed by the Integrity Commissioner with no merit, but it certainly indicates to me that there's issues here with respect to vexatiousness. But there's also the unfairness aspect as well, and I'm not going to dwell on that because I think a lot of it's already been covered. But it's uneven application, and I'm quite disturbed to hear about the fact that there was really no direct contact between both the Integrity Commissioner and one of our councillors. So that concerns me. I have quite a few other points here, but I think what I'm going to suggest is that there were things alleged like workplace harassment, but it was dismissed. A lot of the accusations, there was something like five or six of them, and that were dismissed. That also strikes me as throwing things against the wall, hoping something will stick, which is very concerning. So I'm quite concerned with the way this has occurred. I've experienced, as I've said myself, and other councillors may experience it in the future because of the uneven approach that's being taken. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to make any comments? Councillor Hazelton, please.
Yeah, I think that we have a structural challenge here. We have a significant sized organization. We have a CAO who heads up the organization. We have an HR department who are supposed to, as I understand it, weigh in on HR related matters. And I find it hard to believe that the path of concern wasn't elevated up through to the CAO for the CAO to make a decision. He is our only employee. And if there are issues with staff and their concerns and they're being hurt, then that's something that needs to bubble up through HR and the CAO and then be brought to us. And I think what I thought I heard from Councillor Graziano is that there was no opportunity for discussions like that to take place. And I think that's a big failure from a township structure standpoint. We're sitting here basically sitting ducks. If somebody feels that we have said the wrong thing in the wrong way, maybe we're having a bad day, maybe they're having a bad day, that's an HR matter. That's a management matter. That's not a code of complaint matter. So unless, in my opinion, and I had a little chat with the Integrity Commissioner, and I shared with all of you that I was that third throw it against the wall, see if it sticks complaint complaint candidate or recipient of a complaint. And when I was talking with IC Craig, I said sort of what I've just said here, which is, wouldn't it make sense for an organization to structure it such that if some employee has an issue, they go to their boss and they go to their boss and they go to them to the CAO. And if the CAO believes it is an issue of significance, then the CAO would bring forward a code complaint on behalf of his staff. And she said there are other jurisdictions where this structure exists. So I think what we've seen here is a failure of the organization to execute on reasonable strategies between employees, management, and the top employee, the CAO. And what we are facing here then is unfortunate. I'm going to use the word innuendo. I mean, I've heard a ton of facts and some opinions coming from Councillor Graziano, but I, quite frankly, in a situation where somebody is going to charge you with a code violation, and I've experienced 3 now, 4 actually with this one, that's a really serious thing in my opinion. And for us to basically be sitting ducks for these things, I think is a massive fail. And we need to change our code of conduct so that we can put the onus on the CAO, HR, and the organization to discuss these matters. And if a matter is of significance, then bubble it up to the CAO and let the CAO file a code complaint. But as far as I'm concerned, that the current path that we have right now doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor, any other? Councillor Jarvis, please.
Thank you, through the Mayor.
Councillor Jarvis seems to have frozen. Councillor Jarvis, you seem to have frozen. We haven't.
Hoping that the first part of the statement is kept. The
Councillor
I guess.
Jarvis, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We haven't heard any words clearly from you since you started. I wonder maybe if you took your picture off, we might be a clearer signal.
Can you hear? Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me now or not?
Yes.
No?
Yes. Oh.
And is this better?
We can hear you right now. Yes.
It could be I just distanced from the computer. Okay. Sorry, I just want to echo a little bit of what Councillor Hazelton and Cooper said, and also express my appreciation to the comments made by Councillor Graziano. And I am hoping that the first part of Councillor Graziano's statement is remembered for what it contained, which to me was an appropriate response to the those that filed the complaint in the first place. Because in my review of what took place, he has appropriately addressed that. I think perhaps as per Councillor Hazelton's comments, we should be reviewing how these things, as he said, percolate through, and somehow, I mean, I don't know whether we review whether the IC's performance generally, not specifically, should be enhanced or reviewed, but I think we do need to have a look at this down the road. Once again, I thank you, Councillor Graziano, for what you did say. But I think the first part is the most important of your statements. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pecco, do you want to weigh in at all?
Sure, thank you, Chair. I've just been trying to excuse me, collect my thoughts. I appreciate comments made by Councillor Graziano today. I guess I'm a little bit confused about the process, since it had been explained to us that we can't relitigate the complaint with the report being completed, but I can understand concerns with the process. In that regard, I know there have been a lot of discussions about how do we engage the IC and what's the best process, but given that we have the current process, I'm kind of torn as to how to take this conversation next. So I will leave it at that. Obviously, I think for the next term of council, there's good opportunity for redefining how the code of conduct complaints are raised. And yet I feel myself somewhat constrained by our current code of conduct rules and rules of procedure. And I will, I guess, just leave it at that for the time being.
Thank you. I think I'd like to make a couple of observations. One is having an integrity commissioner and having a code of conduct is a requirement of the province. So we can express frustration at the, I'll call it structure, but the overall structure is mandated by the province. And the province also mandates as part of that that we both have a code of conduct and hire a integrity commissioner. Our current code of conduct was passed, I believe, in 2024. It was a lengthy, very lengthy debate that, if memory serves, and I could be mistaken on this, it took us maybe 18 months to get through the process. So the code of conduct was passed by this council, I think a year and a half ago, a year ago, something like that, back in 2024. The integrity commissioner was hired by council, as is the structure mandated by the province. The staff make recommendations, and council did the hiring of the integrity commissioner. Obviously, I can't speak to the process that Councillor Graziano went through in the past half year or so, almost, I think, 5 months maybe, of getting to the report. Though I do note that he utilized his lawyer to respond, and I don't know if that in any way, shall I say, colored the conversations between Councillor Graziano and the IC, the Integrity Commissioner. But that is a factor in all this. To me, the Integrity Commissioner is hired to review complaints made, and we know that the Integrity Commissioner often receives either informal complaints or inquiries that do not lead to an investigation. And in my conversations with her, whether they're about me or others, she has in the past, not related to this particular file, but in the past has, suggested or encouraged that individuals involved actually try to have a conversation without going through the formal procedure. But when she does do her work, she follows the regulations, the guidelines of integrity commissioners, as do all other integrity commissioners. So I don't, while I hear some of the concerns about the process, to me, that is a separate discussion from whether or not Councillor Graziano, shall we say, stepped over the line in where the complaint is concerned. In the two meetings, did Councillor Graziano show lack of respect or somehow denigrate staff, I think is the question in front of us. And the Integrity Commissioner's opinion, I think, is quite clear from the report. You may or may not agree with it. I may or may not agree with it, but the Integrity Commissioner's opinion, I think, is fairly clear. And then that, which leads us to the three items that are in front of us to discuss, and that is namely, given the report that we've received, given our, I'll say individual opinions of the guilt, can I use that word? The guilt of Councillor Graziano or lack thereof. We need to decide whether or not we think it's appropriate to ask Councillor Graziano to issue a formal apology to the complainants or complainant. We need to decide whether we think it's appropriate for Councillor Graziano to take additional training in staff council relationships and respect in the workplace. And we need to decide whether or not we think it's appropriate for Councillor Graziano to have 15 days remuneration deducted. Those are the three questions that we have to decide. And I'm going to allow council one more round, and then I'll call those three votes, and we can take those three votes. Councillor Jarvis.
Yeah, I'm being told my internet is unstable, so I may be in and out. You can hear me all right now?
At the moment, yes.
It's a bit windy out here in Collingwood, so maybe that's it. I don't know. I would appreciate everything that's taken place. Your comments, Mr. Mayor. I think an apology has already been stated by Councillor Graziano, and I don't know that any other. And actually, taking into consideration the comments made by Councillor Cooper about the possibility of further action, depending on how we address this today, I do not take as a threat. I do not feel threatened by that. So just so you understand, my feeling is that Councillor Graziano has expressed the regret for the way his comments were perceived, and I think that's adequate. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
I would start with echoing what Councillor Jarvis has just said, but wanted to just maybe get some clarification, because it's my understanding, Mr. Mayor, just to clear up one point that you made, which is that the province requires us to have an integrity commissioner. The province requires that the integrity commissioner have processes and procedures to be followed. They are written, as I understand it, by that integrity commissioner. So if we want to tweak it to suit our needs, we could and could have. Now, the integrity commissioner may say, oh, I'm not going to enforce your rules for code of conduct. But as I understand it, that is how it works. The province doesn't have a prescribed list of every single thing that needs to be followed. It's that there be an integrity commissioner. The integrity commissioner comes forward. Well, that's what she told us. And I've heard this from other sources. So I just want to make that clear. And I'm sorry, but I think we've heard some very compelling information and comments from Councillor Graziano today. And I think we're done. From my perspective, there's nothing more required. Thank you.
For clarification, the Integrity Commissioner does not write our code or the provincial regulations. She's under the regulations of the province and the code of conduct that each municipality themselves write. So yes, we do have the power to change our code of conduct as long as it falls within I'll call it the limitations of the provincial regulations.
Mr. Mayor, more or less it amounts to the same thing, though. One way or another, how you parse it, the reality is that we have control over that. And although the Integrity Commissioner, when she came to us, said, this is the process I like to follow, and we bought it. So we can change it. Thank you.
You're absolutely right, but I just wanted, at one point, I thought you said that the Integrity Commissioner writes the rules and procedures she follows, and that is not correct.
She presented us with a draft.
No, she's been asked to comment at times and give us her advice. Yes. Any other comments from councillors? Councillor Hazelton.
Yeah, I'm going to request a recorded vote. I'm assuming we have to dispense with the three resolutions that you were referring to earlier. So I would like a recorded vote on each. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, let's proceed to the votes. Madam Clerk, I'll read the first one you have for me, and then if you could take well, I'll do it 3 times, and if you could take the vote on each one, I'd appreciate it. I have moved by Councillor Predko, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved that Council hereby direct Councillor Graziano to formally apologize to staff as recommended in the report for complaint investigation 060625, no later than December 25, 2025. All those in favor? Yes.
Let the record show Councillor Hazelton requested a recorded vote. Councillor Hazelton, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Jarvis, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Predko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Cooper, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Graziano, how do you vote?
I've recused myself.
Mayor Kuzier, how do you vote?
Yes.
Let the record show the motion failed 2-3.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Cooper, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved that Council direct a suspension of Councillor Graziano's pay for 15 days as recommended in the report for complaint investigation 060625.
Let the record show Councillor Hazelton has requested a recorded vote. Councillor Hazelton, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Jarvis, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Predko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Cooper, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor Kuzier, how do you vote?
Yes.
Let the record show the motion is defeated 2-3.
And I have moved by Councillor Predko, seconded by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved that Council direct Councillor Graziano to attend remedial training or guidance sessions as arranged by the mayor, CAO, or HR department. I don't think the mayor was in the original recommendation. Was it? Okay. As arranged by the mayor, CAO, or HR department regarding the council staff relations and respect in the workplace policies as recommended in the report from complaint investigation 060625, no later than February 28th, 2026.
Let the record show Councillor Hazelton request a recorded vote. Councillor Hazelton, how do you vote? Councillor Hazelton, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Jarvis, how do you vote?
No.
Councillor Predko, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Cooper, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor Kuzier, how do you vote?
Yes.
Let the record show the motion is defeated 2-3.
Thank you. All right, that ends our discussion on staff report A. B, zoning bylaw amendment Z25-12. And this is for the rezoning of the property known as 14956 Georgian Bay Shore. Perhaps this is a result of our conversation December 1st. If you might give us just a quick reminder, or for the benefit of anybody watching, that then we can see whether council has any questions.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Your Worship. Just some quick highlights on the report that's before you. The subject lands were zoned Crown land in error at the time of the enactment of the current zoning bylaw. Township of Georgian Bay planning staff have confirmed that the subject lands were zoned shoreline residential type 1 under the previous township zoning bylaw. The District of Muskoka planning staff have confirmed that the subject lands were designated Crown land under the District of Muskoka official plan in error. The Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources have confirmed that the subject lands are under private ownership and are not considered Crown lands. Both the District of Muskoka and Ministry of Natural Resources have taken action to correct these designation errors. The township brought forward the zoning bylaw amendment application to rezone the subject lands from Crown land to the appropriate zoning being shoreline residential type 1 and environmental protection wetland. Council passed the motion to approve the zoning bylaw amendment application at the December 2nd Planning Council meeting. And now the approved application is being brought to this special council meeting for the purpose of enacting the amending bylaw.
Thank you. Council, I trust you all recall this situation. And are there any questions? All right. I have moved by Councillor Hazelton, seconded by Councillor Cooper. Be it resolved that Council enacts bylaw 2025-091, being a zoning bylaw amendment, Z25-12, to further amend zoning bylaw 2014-75 by rezoning the property municipally known as 14956 Georgian Bay Shore from the Crown Land or CL zone to Shoreline Residential Type 1, SR1 zone, and the Environmental Protection Wetland Zone or EP-W. All those in favor? And that is passed. Thank you very much. Moved by Councillor Predko, second by Councillor Jarvis. Be it resolved the Council adopts bylaw 2025-092 to adopt the Council and Committee remuneration. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Hazelton, second by Councillor Bocek. Be it resolved the Council adopts bylaw 2025-093 to confirm the proceedings of the December 18th, 2025 Council meeting. All those in favor? And that is carried. And moved by Councillor Graziano, second by Councillor Bocek. Be it resolved the Council is now adjourned at 2:04 p.m. until February 8th, 2025 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the chair. All those in favor? And that is carried. We are adjourned. Best
Happy
of luck,
holidays.
all of you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
Yep, Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.